It might feel like the worst possible moment to be putting new flowers in the ground. The soil is baked hard as a biscuit, the sun turns merciless by noon, and plain common sense whispers that you ought to wait until the cool of autumn. Here's the thing though, the 10 plants I'm about to walk you through were made for weather exactly like this. With 1 or 2 simple tricks that I'll share as we go. The deep heat of July and August is a perfectly good time to get them settled, rooted, and flowering. Several of them will be giving you color within a few short weeks, long before the season turns, filling gaps that opened up when the spring flowers gave out. I'm John Sam, and this is Seniors Gardening Advice, where we keep the whole business of growing things joyful, gentle on the back, and light on the watering can. If that's the sort of gardening you believe in too, tap that subscribe button so these weekly guides come straight to you. A quick like helps other folks our age stumble across the channel. And I read every single comment myself. So do tell me down below which of these you already grow in your own borders, or which one you feel tempted to try for the very first time this summer. We are square in the middle of the hot months now, that long, dry spell when the lawn crackles underfoot and the water bill gives you a fright. It's the very time of year that sorts the delicate flowers from the truly dependable ones. So rather than reel off another plain list of names, I've done something a little different this time. I'm counting down my 10 toughest summer flowers, from number 10 up to the single best of the bunch, and for each one, I'll tell you how to plant and settle it successfully, even in this fierce heat. Let's get our hands dirty and find you a few flowers that will keep going long after the fussier ones have thrown in the towel. Before we meet the first flower, a few honest words about planting in high summer, because it changes the usual rules a little. Nurseries are full of healthy plants in pots at this time of year, and a container-grown plant can go in almost any month, heat included, so long as you look after it for those first crucial weeks. The golden rule is to plant in the cool. Wait for the evening or an overcast morning, never the blazing middle of the day, so your new arrival isn't gasping the moment it hits the soil. Before you plant, sit the pot in a bucket of water until the bubbles rise and the whole root ball is soaked right through. A bone-dry root ball repels water once it's in the ground, and that little oversight catches out many a good gardener every single year. Every flower here loves the same 2 things, sharp drainage and full sun, so I won't keep repeating it. If your ground is heavy, sticky clay, dig in a good handful of grit or coarse sand to open it up, because wet winter feet will finish these plants far quicker than any drought. Once planted, water deeply, then lay a mulch of gravel or bark around the base to lock the moisture in and keep the roots cool. For those first 2 or 3 weeks, give a thorough soak every couple of days. After that, ease right off and let them toughen up, because a plant kept too comfortable never bothers to grow the deep, searching roots that see it through a dry August. With that bit of groundwork laid, let's meet them, one by one. Number 10. Yarrow, or Achillea, to give its proper name, is the flower I press upon anyone convinced they have a black thumb. Flat, plate-like heads in butter yellow, dusky pink, coral, and cream float above soft, ferny foliage, and they carry on for weeks through the hottest afternoons. Hardy down through Zone 3, it shrugs off drought once its roots find their feet. Plant a pot-grown yarrow now, water it in well, and it'll knit into the border and reward you before the season is out. Those broad flower heads act as landing pads for butterflies and bees, so a clump of it fairly buzzes on a warm day, while the soft, aromatic leaves keep browsing deer and rabbits at a polite distance, which is a real blessing if hungry wildlife has spoiled your beds before. Give it a lean, sunny spot, and, whatever you do, hold back on feeding. Rich soil only makes yarrow soft and floppy. Shear the faded heads and you'll often earn a second showing before autumn, and lifting and dividing the clump every few years keeps it hardy. Little care, masses of color, and one of the longest flowering runs of anything on this whole list. Number 9. Coreopsis. If it's pure sunshine you're after, Coreopsis simply refuses to quit. Often called tickseed, this cheery North American native tosses out daisy-like blooms in gold, lemon, and warm russet from early summer clear through to the first frosts. Hardy across zones 4 to 9, it revels in the heat that leaves softer flowers wilting. Here's why it suits summer planting so well. Coreopsis grew wild on dry prairies and dusty roadsides, so poor gritty soil and beating sun are exactly its idea of paradise. Slot a young plant into a bright, well-drained gap this month. Keep it watered while it takes hold, and it'll flower its heart out for the rest of the season. The one job it asks is a regular trim of the spent blooms or a light all-over shear when flowering slows, which nudges it into a fresh wave of buds rather than setting seed. No staking, no feeding, and next to no fuss, which makes it a wonderful choice if bending and tending are getting harder on the joints these days. The bees and butterflies will thank you for it, and you'll have armfuls of golden stems for a jug on the kitchen table right through the warmest weeks. For carefree color when the heat is at its worst, it is very hard to better. Number 8. Sea Holly now, for a flower with real character. Sea Holly, or Eryngium, lends an almost sculptural, architectural quality to a border, all spiky, thistle-like heads and metallic silver-blue stems that seem to catch fire in the low evening light. Once you grow it, you'll want it threaded all through the beds. As the name suggests, it comes from coastal dunes and shingle, so hot, dry, sandy ground is home from home. Hardy through zones 4 to 9, it drives down a long taproot in search of water, which makes it marvelously drought-proof. That same deep root means it hates being disturbed, so choose its position carefully at planting and let it settle undisturbed for good. Full sun and sharp drainage are truly the whole of its modest wish list, and it thrives on the sort of dry, stony ground where many gardeners despair of growing anything at all. The steely heads dry beautifully and hold their shape and color for months, standing proud in the border or in a vase indoors. Leave the seed heads through winter for the birds and for a lovely frosted outline on chilly mornings. Pop one into a hot, gritty spot this month. Water it just until it roots, then let it fend for itself. Different, tough, and quietly dramatic, it draws a second glance every time. Number 7. Mexican Fleabane. Mexican Fleabane, or Erigeron carvinskianus if we're being formal, is one of those unassuming little plants that looks at home absolutely everywhere. It spills over low walls, worms into cracks in the paving, and softens the front of a sunny bed with a haze of tiny daisies. Each bloom opens white and mellows to soft pink, so one plant wears both shades at once for months on end. Hardy from around zone 6, it thrives in the driest, poorest, most forgotten corners you can offer it, and once established, it barely registers a dry spell. It seeds itself gently into new crevices, which is half its charm. One caution mind, since that free seeding habit lands it on the invasive list in a few regions, so a quick word with your local extension office before planting is wise if you're unsure. Pop a plant into a wall gap or a gravelly edge now, keep it moist while it roots, and it'll ramble away for you. A shear back by half after the main flush keeps it neat and coaxes out fresh flowers within weeks. For softening a hard edge or filling an awkward crack, few plants are handier, and once it settles, a little of it spreads a remarkably long way. Number 6. Coneflower. Few flowers announce high summer like the coneflower, or echinacea. Those bold daisy blooms, each with a raised, honey-scented central cone, stand tall on strong stems from midsummer well into autumn, in rich purple, warm pink, fiery orange, and clean white. Hardy across zones 3 to 9, it's a prairie plant through and through, which is exactly why heat and drought leave it unbothered. Growing up on open grassland taught it to send roots down deep, so it powers through dry spells that flatten shallower neighbors. Plant a healthy pot now in full sun and ordinary free-draining soil, water it in faithfully, and it'll stand up to wind and weather without a single stake. The wildlife reward is huge. Bees and butterflies work the blooms all summer, and if you leave the tidying until spring, goldfinches will feast on the seed heads through the cold. That alone is reason enough to put the shears away in autumn. It makes a fine, long-lasting cut flower too, holding up in a vase for a week or more. Upright, reliable, and generous to a fault, the coneflower is a true backbone of the summer border. Number 5. The Shasta Daisy halfway. Up the countdown, we reach a flower that sums up an old-fashioned summer garden in a single bloom. The Shasta Daisy, Leucanthemum superbum, offers crisp white petals around a bright gold eye, cheerful simplicity itself, flowering for weeks across the longest days. Hardy, from about zone 5, these upright perennials are a good deal sturdier than their fresh looks let on. They handle heat, dry spells, and plain soil without complaint, provided the drainage is sharp and the sun is plentiful. Seek out well-behaved varieties, such as Becky, or snowcap, which stand firm on strong stems and won't flop across the border after a summer storm, sparing you the fiddle of staking. Set one in now. Keep it watered through the settling-in weeks, and deadhead the fading flowers to keep fresh ones coming. In autumn, cut the clump back for winter, and lift and divide it every few years to keep it flowering freely. They cut beautifully for a vase, so you can bring that summer brightness indoors whenever you please. Familiar, dependable, and endlessly cheerful, the Shasta Daisy is a classic for the very best of reasons. Number 4. Catmint. Catmint, or Nepeta, more than earns its high spot here. Hardy right down to Zone 3, and about as forgiving as a plant can be, it throws up soft clouds of lavender blue flowers from late spring through summer, and the bees are utterly helpless before them. Unusually for this crowd, it even copes in heavier clay, provided it doesn't sit cold and sodden all winter, which makes it a friendly starting point for anyone whose soil is less than perfect. Being a relative of the mints, its gray-green leaves are wonderfully aromatic, and that's my favorite thing about it. Line it along a path or the front of a border, and every brush of your sleeve releases a clean, calming scent. Once bedded in, it's thoroughly drought-tolerant and asks almost nothing of you. A young plant will settle happily even in this heat if you keep it watered for a fortnight or so. The single job worth doing is a light trim once the first flush fades, cutting back by a third to earn a whole second wave of blooms. It softens hard edges, ties a border together, and sits handsomely beside old roses. Fragrant, forgiving, and forever alive with bees, it's a plant I'd hand to any nervous beginner without a second thought. Number 3. Lavender. Lavender was always going to rank near the top. Fragrant, lovely, alive with bees, and steeped in old garden romance, it's tough as old boots once established. As our summers stretch longer and hotter, with some regions baking above 100 degrees Fahrenheit for days together, it's precisely the plant to lean on. Hardy through roughly zones 5 to 9, its cleverness lives in the leaves, not the flowers. Those slim silvery leaves are studded with oil glands that bounce back harsh sunlight and hold in moisture, making lavender a true expert at living on very little water. English, French, or Spanish, the care hardly differs. It craves a sunny, sharply drained home, a dry, sandy, or gravelly spot where water never lingers. Overwatering is the surest way to lose it, so plant into gritty soil now, water sparingly while it roots, then let it dry between drinks. When the flowers fade in late summer, give a gentle trim to lift out the spent stems and keep the plant from going woody and bare below. Do that faithfully, and it'll grace your beds for many a year, and reward you with fragrant stems to dry, and scent the house long after summer has gone. Number 2. Sedum. Just shy of the top spot sits a plant made for weather like this, Sedum, now often listed as Hylotelephium and loved by many as autumn joy. Its thick, fleshy, blue-green leaves are little water tanks, which is exactly why it strolls through drought while all around it wilts. Hardy across zones 3 to 9, it's about as low effort as a flowering plant gets. Through midsummer, it builds neat, sculptural mounds of foliage, and then, just as other flowers fade, it opens broad heads that shift from soft green to dusky pink and deep rusty red as the weeks roll on. That late display is worth its weight in gold for carrying color and life deep into autumn, just when the borders would otherwise be winding down and looking tired. Plant a pot now in full sun and ordinary soil, and it'll establish with barely a grumble. Whatever you do, don't spoil it, since rich ground and heavy watering make it flop open in the middle. Butterflies and bees crowd those flatheads in the warm evenings, and if you leave the faded flowers standing over winter, you'll have frosted beauty and food for the birds through the lean months. Sculptural, succulent, and utterly reliable, it never once lets you down. And at number 1, Russian sage. The single toughest, most dependable summer flower I know is Russian sage, these days filed under Salvia yangi. If I could keep only one plant off this whole list and trust it to thrive on neglect, this would be it. From early summer well into autumn, it lifts airy spires of soft blue-violet flowers above aromatic, silvery gray foliage, a gentle haze of color that pollinators drift through all day. Hardy across zones 4 to 9, this woody-based subshrub climbs to around 4 feet, bringing welcome height and structure to the back of a sunny bed. It is, quite simply, nearly bulletproof, brushing off heat, drought, and poor soil while standing firm against deer, rabbits, and even salty coastal winds. That is why it earns its spot. The only way to let it down is kindness, as overfeeding and overwatering make the stems weak and floppy. Plant into free-draining soil now. Water lightly while it roots, then leave it be. Come spring, cut last year's woody stems hard back to just a few inches from the base, and it'll surge away again with astonishing fresh vigor. It also resists most pests and diseases, so you'll rarely reach for a spray. For beauty, toughness, and pure reliability, nothing else here comes close, and that is why it wears the crown. So there's my 10, from faithful Yarrow at number 10 to the near unkillable Russian sage right at the summit. Each one makes the same happy case that a garden can look soft, abundant, and romantic while still shrugging off a long, brutal, punishing summer without leaving you forever chained to the end of the hose. If I send you off with a single thought, let it be this. Even in the thick of the heat, you can plant these beauties now, so long as you soak the root ball, plant in the cool of the day, mulch well, and keep them watered for those first few weeks. After that, trust them and step back. The less you fuss, the better they'll repay you, and that easy, back-sparing way of gardening is the one I'll always champion. I'd love to know which of these you'll be adding to your borders this summer, or whether you've a tough favorite of your own I've overlooked. Leave it in the comments below so we can all learn a little from each other, since some of the finest tips I know came straight from viewers like you. If this was useful, a like helps it reach more gardeners, and do subscribe if you haven't, since a fresh guide waits for you each week. Until we meet again next week, keep your hands in the good earth, take things nice and gentle, look after yourself, and happy gardening to you all.